Good morning. Hello. Thank you very much, all of you, for being here. Let me start with a kind of theoretic question. You all, or let me say we all, work in an international environment. How do you feel in our Central European environment? What is more difficult for you to keep your organization balanced in terms of editorial or in terms of finance? As I feel it in my surrounding area, both are very challenging.
Okay, so it's work. Nice to meet you all. Thanks for having me. First of all, the quality journalism most important and like the basis value is independency. We need to be independent, like from many kind of sources, but it's not possible to achieve the content independency without financial independence. So we can try to achieve journalistic independency, but it's not possible without financial basics. Therefore, if we looking for across our region and try to like pinpoint the most pressing challenges, financial sustainability, I believe, one of the most important, besides like fighting against misinformation, disinformation, how we should react to artificial intelligence, or how we deal with the fact that state capture of the media field is happening, not just in the country where we are now in Hungary, but like in other Central Eastern European countries. So in the last couple of years, I think a lot about how quality independent journalism can be achieved through financial independence. I think the answer relies on the readers and readers' revenue, but I think we will going to go there, so I just leave it like that.
Bart.
Well, I must add, I fully agree with Veronika, but I must say that the time when the media was, prosperous business, something which is extremely profitable, when you can earn a lot of money and build, a skyscraper as your HQ of your financial media empire are over. This is no longer the case. The media, well, this is not a big business. This is rather a hobby for many of us. Maybe we stick to the media because this is the only thing we could do, to write and read. Sorry for this cynicism, but sometimes I feel it that way. We are not very profitable at the moment. So Gazeta Wyborcza used to be, when I started 26 years ago, it used to be a huge company which earned only through paper edition, and so much money that we were able to build a huge office building in the center of Warsaw. And then observe our German partners, German colleagues, they did the same. And now the problem is that, well, of course, we could maintain this building. There's no problem with that. But due to digital transformation, and also thanks to our previous government, which is, trying to kill us, but failed to do so, we had to shrink. And this building was occupied by the editorial team. The 3 stores were full of journalists, editors, and so on. Now we use, a small part of that. So we were squeezed not only in terms of number of personnel, but also in terms of space. So that shows what this transformation of media market means now. So we are weaker, financially weaker, but we are needed more than we used to be 26 or 20 or 10 years ago, because the pressure not only on journalists, but the pressure on the society on the powers which want to determine liberal democracy, freedoms, rule of law, freedom of speech, and so on, are huge, are powerful, and each 4 years, or even after, or even more often, we get the feeling that we are on the verge, that the functioning and survival of democracy and of the free world even is on the verge. So the journalists are needed more than before, and they are weaker than before. And what is the answer for that? We need that our society should stop, consider us as, I don't know, some kind of business endeavor. This is no longer the case. We are quite like NGO, public servants doing something for the society and not being, this is not about the money that I wanted to say. We are not earning the money. We are not, that profitable to keep media empires on the run. So we need more public support. We need support from the EU. We need also to raise such an awareness that the time when the media was a huge business is over. Now the media is a service to the society, is protecting our values, and being part of this struggle, let's call it between the good and evil. Thanks.
Well, if I may, the zeitgeist is about complaining, right? So journalists and media representatives do complain, and with a very good reason, or I should better say with a very large number of good reasons we could complain. In your question, you were referring to the difficulties of keeping the editorial balance on one side and sustainability on the other side. So I want to take the opportunity to concentrate on the good side. It has not really been a struggle in our case, and in the case of most of the friends on the stage, I imagine similarly, to actually work on the editorial balance, or I would rather say the integrity of the editorial team, or the autonomy or the truthfulness of our reporting, because in these very, very challenging periods for media, and not only locally in Hungary, and not only politically, but economically and in many different aspects, the very few independent outlets that can actually remain and stay in business have normally a very strong imprint in their DNA about the truthfulness, about the integrity, and about the independence of their reporting. So these factors are just, I cannot even describe it any other way, just fortunately given or provided to the entities that most of us on stage work with. So the real struggle is that as Vera said it very rightly, along with Bartosz, maintaining that financially is not only critical for the very existence of these organizations, but it is, in a much broader perspective, a societal challenge. And economists would say it is a very basic concept that where market fails, the state needs to intervene. That's like one of the key concepts they were debating back and forth over the past century in economic theory. Now, in the case of journalism, it is a little bit different because the state cannot interfere, or normally doesn't interfere in a positive manner. So where market fails, the society needs to interfere for itself. And we've just heard from my two fantastic colleagues the two ways society can actually interfere. One is directly financing, partially or fully, the media that they deem important, and that's reader revenues, as Vera put it. And the other one is through certain institutional partnerships and support that Bartosz was also referring to, whether it comes from the European levels or comes from civil organizations or any other source. These are sources that in today's independent media are inevitably needed for independent media to thrive, or at least to survive.
Okay, I will first let me thank you also for the invitation, for having me here. I would start with the situation of EurActiv, or situation. We are a little bit different medium. We are a niche medium, we're a small medium, and we differ from any other big media in the country, so also our problems are all different. We are covering European issues, European affairs, European politics and policies, and this already creates some challenge in terms of acquiring some revenue because the readership is rather limited, I must say, in our country specifically, and not only in our country but elsewhere as well. The problem with finances, I would also say that this is the most pressing issue for all the media in the country. There are different streams of revenue that are coming to media in the Czech Republic. You mentioned rightly a subscription model. This is excellent and it works very well for some independent media like Denník and like some others in our country, but the most of our media are dependent on advertisement, and they are selling also some kind of services to communication services to private companies. Not only to private companies, but also to public organizations, state bodies, etc., etc. The last stream of revenue would be some public projects, some projects that are applied for and announced by international organizations, international foundations, etc. But it's, I would say, rather minor stream of revenue for all or most of the media in the market. The most important is the advertisement revenue and this revenue for services which I talked about, which is, I don't know, organizing events, which has become quite popular among media in our country, and not only in our country, but elsewhere as well. And these events are not journalistic things in the first place, but they are used to cross-finance other activities of the medium, and so that media can survive. The important thing is that landscape has changed dramatically. There is, at least in the Czech Republic, there's a proliferation of huge amounts of media, and these are not only serious media, but also, I would call it generic media, some media that are just using the content produced by others, adding some other stuff, some lifestyle things and other things, and they are sucking part of the revenues from advertisement. Then there are even something which we call junk media that even does it worse, that are and trash media that are not even following any editorial principles, and they are still competing about that for that money. And then we have a strong role of online platforms that are that also suck a large part of the revenue that once belonged to media, and they are more or less forced to redistribute it back to media, which didn't happen in case of Czech Republic because, for example, Google had a serious spat with media in the country, and it closed down its Google News services, though there is no traffic or little traffic from Google and little or no revenue from Google for media. There is other platform, local platform, it's called Seznam. This is some anomaly in European space that we have own platform that is capable of competing with Google, and it's like a gatekeeper for media. All the media are fighting for reach, I mean reaching the audience, and Seznam or other platforms are driving that audience. And if you are cooperating with Seznam, then you're probably okay, and you get your part of share, and if you don't, then you don't have traffic and you have little resources. And European legislation doesn't apply there because it's understood as the relevant market is Czech Republic, not the EU. So these are the specific challenges for the Czech Republic, but I think some of them or most of them are shared across countries.
Yeah, I just wanted to balance a little bit the complaining part and joining to Gábor. That's what we do, journalists, right? Try to balance and show all of the sides of every story. That there are some very, very interesting and meaningful examples that readers do understand, or like, not like the majority, but some of the readers understand that if they would like to consume facts, like to consume quality journalism, they need to contribute financially if they would like to do that. And I just tell you, not just like 444 examples or Telex's examples in Hungary or Denník's example in the Czech Republic or in Slovakia, or many examples from Poland, but also like Partizan, this Hungarian video channel collecting the 1% of the tax from the Hungarian people in like a enormous level, so people like understand that, okay, that's how I can help free media in a country where it's struggling. Or another example, Mr. Kovacic, who was a very well-known TV presenter at Markiza television in Slovakia, and he quit because he felt that there were some political pressure on the broadcaster he worked in, and he started a crowdfunding campaign like just very recently, a couple of weeks ago, and in 2 days he collected 500,000 euros. And we at Denník in this country, in Slovakia, which is 5 million population, we have 70,000 subscribers, paying subscribers. So I just would like to show that, yeah, it is a struggling and challenging environment. I always have been worked in the news media industry, so that's the part that I can talk about. But still, there are like hopeful light for this industry as well.
So you feel that people are tending to understand that there's no free lunch neither.
Yeah, I think it's super interesting that people paying for news when it's print on the newsstands, right? So many of you usually buy if you still read prints, which is like a rarity nowadays. But why do we feel that online it's okay to be free? It's a super expensive production what we are doing digitally.
I just want to add one very brief comment, that the beauty of this is that people who do pay for news online or elsewhere are not doing this in an altruistic manner. So I don't like to refer to it only as a help provided by them to us media entities to continue our existence and our operations. No, this is the immune system of the society. This is for their own benefit in a good way. So I'm not talking about us being altruistic from the journalistic side or them being altruistic providing money. No, this is our coexistence in the society, because they need information. They also need their mental health to be provided for, and sometimes getting access to certain sources of information that Gazeta or Denník or 444 provides in these countries, or from the European level. We also get it from European news sources. That is needed. So when Vera is celebrating people's response to these calls that they should support or participate or subscribe, that is just our societal immune system finally getting to work. And again, I'm not trying to cover up for the otherwise extremely gloomy future or present that is really above and ahead of us. I'm just saying that this is the very essence of how we together can react to the challenges that come from environmental, economic, political, and all other global directions.
Thank you. Most of the words you told were about financial environment, but let me stay for a sentence or two by the editorial part. Don't you feel that being balanced is also extremely challenging in this environment? Because at least as I see it now, in Hungary mostly, but I think it's similar, or it was similar in Poland and probably will be in Slovakia. The government and the ruling party is in the position to ignore the independent media by doesn't giving information, doesn't giving one-on-one interviews with high-profile elected officials, and by that pushing the independent media into the field of the opposition. So how can you be still balanced when you don't get information from the state offices, when you don't get interviews from high-profile politicians, etc.?
Well, we used to have such a way of operation in terms of high-profile investigations, and we didn't get the answers. You could send the answer to the office, and then you write something and you get immediately sued by the government or by the party. And the court, the law demands that you give at least the opportunity to the other side to present the arguments. And how to present the arguments when they ignore your questions. So in order to satisfy this requirement, we publish the questions we sent. So the prosecution office received that, and question. The Prime Minister's office received that, and question. They didn't answer. And well, when I started my so-called career in media, it was a flow of the journalist when he didn't get any answer for his questions, that the article was unpublishable without the second side. Sorry, you need to work harder to get the information. You can't say that somebody wasn't picking your phone, that somebody simply refused to and there was a time when the offices didn't use the email. And now it becomes a new normal, that you send a question and you don't get the answer. You try to ask the question during the press conference, and you're being simply ignored. And that's the deliberate politics, of course, of those people. So we just publish the question and alarm the public that that the questions weren't answered. But it's the other problem that the journalists must not complain about the life. You can't simply write, "Oh, our questions were not answered by the Prime Minister." No, the Prime Minister got the chance to confront the media, to confront the accusations. I hear the accusations, and let's go on with that. But the truth is, and this is the most sad constatation, that the politicians, they don't need media anymore to communicate with society. They have their Twitter accounts, they have their other social networks, and they use it extensively. They use them also not only for the purpose of informing society about the way they're doing, but also to incite hate against the enemies. The Donald Trump is the best example, and the people who followed him. So we have a number of politicians in Poland who use the Twitter and social networks just to incite hate, and in fact we are helpless. And the other way of deforming the way the media works is to publish stories in traditional so-called legacy media based on the posts in social networks. So instead of having conferences, they just post, and we are just collecting their posts and make story of that. This is something totally damaged, wrong, and should be avoided. But there is you mentioned the word balanced. I don't feel a necessity to be balanced as a journalist, facing I'm sorry, I'm emotional about that, because I used to live 8 years under authoritarian regime, and we suffered not only as a media but as a society. You can't be balanced facing a bunch of guys who try to misuse the state for all their personal gains, to get simply rich, and when they destroy the country's achievements, making the country weaker, making the country unprepared for challenges, and using all this patriotic rhetoric to cover that up. You can't be simply balanced. Those people, they are very open, very vocal, and that what's necessary is to believe the dictator that what he was doing, he was going to do that exactly as he announced that. So you can't be balanced facing the man who says, my aim is to limit democracy in my country, to destroy free media, to gleichschalten the society. You are part of this struggle because you are also targeted, and you can't be balanced, trying to be balanced, facing such an opponent. Media must resist. That's our social vocation. Resist by showing the truth, not creating a fake news or using some kind of propaganda methods, but the truth, the facts. This is the weapon we could use, and we don't have to be balanced. We need to be effective.
Just one short remark. I think I can say we are all identifying ourselves as independents. By pushing us into the field of opposition, they try to send a message. Maybe we are pro-government, but you are the same. These all are the same. Sorry, the same shit. No independency. There is pro or con, and by this, at the end of the day, destroying our credibility, being independent. It's also a question of finance at the end of the day.
Yeah, but I believe we don't need to act like someone saying something to us and then we need to act accordingly. I believe that we need to go back to the cores of journalism, which is being fair, being punctual, being curious, being transparent, and give that service to the people that journalism is for in democracies, right? That we give you the information, all of the variety of information that you need, so you will be able to have free decisions. That's what theoretically journalism is for, right? So I believe, it is. I don't want to mitigate that the fact that access to information is harder than ever. The Prime Minister of Hungary haven't given an in-depth, real interview in the last, 15 years or more. And in Slovakia, the Prime Minister, Mr. Fico, calling specific news organizations like the one where I work, the enemy. And also, it was the same at the PiS government in Poland.
And he says, please tell your owner my message, if you remember what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, but so I believe we need to be innovative and practical when we haven't got answers, which we need to go there personally where the politicians are and ask them in person, right? If they throw us out from the windows, in the other way around, if they throw us out from the door, then we come back on the window and ask the questions again. So, yeah, the problem is real. But the answer is the core of journalism. That's how I believe.
Can we convince our audience about that we are independent, we are not
according to the data of the readership, the answer is yes.
I think it's a problematic question, this latter one, whether we can convince our audience, because the audiences are also subject to the zeitgeist of being extremely polarized as a society, as political actors, as personal decision makers. So I think that what Vera said and Bartosz said are just the very center of this situation, that we practically refuse and have always refused the notion of having to be balanced in a symmetric way. It's just perfectly not making any sense. The real role of true journalism, even as Vera put it, is more about being critical. And if you're critical in a country, let's put it in Hungary, where the power has not shifted for 14 years, how on earth and in what measures would you try to be balanced? You are critical towards the government, and of course you would be critical towards any other government should they be in place. Now that is important. Have we had a chance to show it? No. Does the society trust us that we would do it? Questionable. Have we had the chance to show it on a longer term? Yes, we had. My organization, 444.hu, actually inherited a large portion of the former editorial team of Index.hu from its old and critical times. And of course, when we had other type of government, Index was equally critical. But no one remembers that. Everybody focuses on the present and claims that we are unbalanced. No, we are critical. And I think that is a very, very central role of media, to remain critical, truthful, and relevant, because it needs to remain interesting as well, because we can just say our truths to ourselves if no one cares. So we need to be relevant in the sense that it is still interesting, it is revealing something, it is conveying a message that the audience is not only willing to hear but is interested about. So those are our roles. So we need to go back to journalism, as Vera said, but we should not claim that climbing back on the window guarantees us this success. So this is an extreme challenge of not getting access to information, an extreme challenge of having to find out new ways of journalism. And one comment I need to make here, and I close this part for myself, is that we have to understand that in this post-truth world, journalism as such is under such pressures. So it's not the Visegrad 4 countries, or not specifically Hungary, having possibly some type of a deepest problem politically within the European community. No, these are global problems, and the so to say, late 20th century journalistic ideas and concepts are under pressure. We cannot live on the basic notions of journalism being independent and being self-sustainable and being truthful in the way it was in the second half of the 20th century. The new ways are forming now.
Yes, it's probably because we are still using measures from the 20th or even earlier 20th century, or even earlier times, to measure the society and our job. Let me step forward if we have time. Do you think these challenges can be survived through cooperations, international cooperations? I mean the editorial and both the financial challenges. Can it be helpful?
If I may, I'm not sure if any of you are in such an integrated group of media as EurActiv is, because we are currently in 12, I believe, I don't remember the number, it changes all the time, 12 countries, and we cooperate quite strongly. We create on a daily basis content that makes a wrap up what was important in the area of EU affairs. So we create this on a daily basis. Yes, there is some revenue out of that, but it is very difficult to find a business model. We are in Europe, we're different countries, we have different audiences, and yes, it is beneficial to go for specific projects, to apply jointly for projects. It's wonderful in investigative journalism, and it brought very good results, but I don't believe that this is the way how to sustain media. Yeah, we are looking for a business model how to sell this and how to really create some European public space, and it's a very big issue, because you cannot simply translate news from one country to another.
I believe that if we talk about the financial sustainability, the key is to have a differentiation of different revenue streams. And in this makes, I already said, readers' revenue, in my point of view, the most valuable, because then it shows that there is a need, there is a service type need for the content that we provide. But yeah, institutional sources like EU, cross-border content grants can also be some kind of revenue part from the stream, but I agree that it is difficult. Sometimes I need to remark that these institutional sources making like very un-newsroom-like conditions, like working together in several languages, not just like translating, but adapting to the different context, to the same subject. And according to my experiences from the last 2 decades, it is difficult to find a way that find that project that you want to do, and then it's like implementable. I think that's the English word to the everyday life of a newsroom. That's one thing, but like that's just one part. The other part, you can sell books, you can sell like T-shirts, merchandise, and advertisement revenue. So I do believe that institutional sources are important, but like growing as many legs as possible financially, that's also super important.
Well, I'll just give you an example of how it works with our newspaper. So we're members of a few networks of editorial world boards, and for instance, the LINA is quite important for us because it's kind of alliance. LINA means leading European Newspaper Association, and we are there with Die Welt, with Le Figaro, with El País, and La Repubblica, and 2 Swiss, Le Soir, of course, and then 2 Swiss local journals. And we tried to do, something. Well, the idea was to do something together. So we tried to make combined reporting. Failed. Didn't work because the journalists, they don't work together. They don't know each other. Everybody gets its obligation in the newsroom. So, well, there was a kind of failure. We tried to invested a lot of money to make a European survey. Spent thousands of euros to make a survey in our country. Sorry, but it didn't brought any interesting results. It was one survey of many, and didn't make sense. But then we realized that we have a power of the brands, and combined together, when we go to the President Macron, well, he can refuse, but it won't be an easy decision for his staff. If we go to the Chancellor of Germany, if we go to the President, the Prime Minister of Poland, we had an interview. The only interview he gave to the press was the interview with Lina. So maybe combining the power of you need to make a first step, and to create something which lasts, which is recognizable, which is something the people consider as a value. And in Paris now, there's a group of correspondents of Lena media outlets, and they work as a group. They go together and interview all important people in French politics. So this is working. And we also work together with Gábor, with 444, with SMA from Slovakia, with Press One from Romania. We created a consortium which is also founded by the European Commission, and we cover security issues on the eastern flank of NATO. And this is also working. We establish a website for that, and we're also trying to create a brand. That this is the place when you need to look for important information related to security, and this is run by few important media outlets in eastern flank countries. So we need to start small and create something. 2 + 2 must equal 5 or more. That's the solution.
And if I just may add to that one very brief comment. I think that recognizing the challenges that Bart and Vera were referring to, the key idea is that international cooperation among media is mostly not directly about making money, but it is about know-how and learning from each other. And that's not just bullshitting from the stage because you can say whatever. We happen to be using the technology that Vera's company developed for reader revenues. We happen to be working with Bartosz and Gazeta Wyborcza and many others on this international security topic coverage, and we do reach new heights with it and do learn from the world-renowned Bellingcat for investigative journalistic techniques. Of course, we are then attacked by the Hungarian government propaganda machine for doing so, and then we suffer a smear campaign. But again,
But Gábor,
not to complain.
this is a recognition, this is an award, this is a merit.
But being
That seems
happy
very
about
important.
it, we do learn from Bellingcat, the very workshop that uncovered so much about the flight that was shot down above Ukraine, and so much about the Bucha tragedy when the Russian aggression began. And we learn journalistic skills from them. They can attack us here locally, communication level, about what narratives do we spread. But our journalistic strengthening is coming through these corporations. We learn from our Wyborcza friends, and we do cooperate. And no, normally we don't make money directly on that. Yes, I feel, and my colleagues also feel, that we are getting stronger and stronger by the day working with these people around Europe. And what I have to add is that also, except for Vera on stage, most of the others are getting old. But some newer generation journalists that are with our teams are much more open to these corporations and have an easier way of going about it. So this is also a change that we need to implement within our own organizations, that these corporations are not just about talking big or feeling the Erasmus feeling also at the workplace after the university. No. We need to make sense of it, and we need to cut all the parts that are completely, unfruitful, and just focus on the few things that work, and they exist. And on stage, and this is by accident, I learned my partners from the program, but on stage you see that these corporations do exist and do get somewhere.
Thank you. I have to admit that I was informed my main task here is being tough with you. If you have one small closing remark, please do say it. If not, I would like to thank you very much for the conversation. It was a good warm-up.